So, background on me, I guess before we even get into anything weird that's happened. So, my name's Matt. I'm a former wildlife biologist in southwestern PA. Had nothing weird. Spent thousands of hours in the woods. Grew up on 54 acres in southwestern PA down in Greene County. Our neighbors had like another 60 some. And my uncle down the road had another like 60 some. So I had hundreds of acres to roam on. Nothing really too weird. How many times you feel like you're being watched and stuff, but you know, that's normal. That all changed in 2019 or 2020, sorry, after the pandemic started. It was around this time of year, actually. It was around June. It's late May right now. I'm just waiting because we're like coming up on one section I want to show you. So if I spin around, so you can see it's like directly back from the house. So back behind me, there's actually a little pond back there. Actually, I think it's more over. So the house now is to my right. It's now back like behind me. Yeah, it's right. I was right. It's back over there. So it would have been over in this general area. So we were sitting on the picnic table, which we're gonna get footage from. And I heard a wood knock come from over here. It was about midnight. And then it got quiet and I noticed the dogs were acting real weird. And we'll go into super detail and I'll show you like where I was and everything like that. As a general idea though. And then, you know, I mentioned to my mom, the dogs started acting weird. Then I heard a second wood knock and it wasn't quite back this far. And you know, and I'm like, did you hear that? And she's like, well, okay, Mr. Biologist, so what would do that? Sorry, my allergies are bad right now. She said, so sorry, she said, so Mr. Biologist, what would do that? And I said, well, and I didn't want to say because I'm thinking, you have to have hands to do a wood knock because that means that you're taking. Okay, that's a, I started to hear the, I was like, what the hell is that? That was just a dirt bike. So, because you know, you have to have hands to grab something and smack it off of a tree. So I'm sitting there thinking, there's only two things. One's going to be something weird that shouldn't exist, and the other one's a person. That's it. Like a raccoon isn't going to be strong enough to do wood knocks. And there's nothing else. I mean, I've got not just thousands of hours in the woods, but I'll have links to all this stuff down below. But I wrote a bird guide for this part of West Virginia, for like the northern panhandle, so that section between like PA and Ohio. Want to challenge coin from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I'm published a bunch of times. Like I know my shit. Pardon my language. Sorry, I just keep looking around because we're back in that area, not far from where everything happens. I get kind of on edge because if you haven't noticed, it's awful quiet back here. We're gonna keep walking. So the dogs didn't even want to they didn't want to move. They were between us and the fire. So I thought that was weird because I'm like, sorry, I heard crunching over in there. I'm gonna be very on edge right now, I'm not gonna lie, because this is the first time in over a year that I've been back here. When this all happened, it was a nope, and I haven't come back for obvious reasons because I got chased out of the woods. Something blind charged me. So I eventually got the dogs back in, and then there was nothing. That was it until the fall. Now the fall would have been that same general area, like back in there, but close to the house. Sorry, this is actually a hard climb because if you can't tell, the elevation comes up a lot, and I think that plays a part in all this. because if we turn over there, it goes up even more. Then actually over here, like behind me, it's like if you're standing at the back of the house, it's kind of to your left. Looking at Google Maps, it's like 190 foot elevation change from where the house is to there. And then where we're heading to where everything happened, it drops off. So it's like it's area of ridges, and eventually the river's that way. Okay, there's birds. You're gonna notice I might do that once in a while because I'm listening. It's the biologist in me. It's when things get silent, and this isn't even like saying that it's anything weird. If things get quiet, leave. Because there's a good chance that there's a predator around, and that's why everything's being quiet. As long as you're hearing birds and stuff like I am, you're good. Especially if you're in bear country or wolf territory, or even really like up north. It's not often, but coyotes will attack people, especially children and women because they're smaller. So, you know, just that's my advice. And if you don't know what something is vocalizing or making a noise, do not do it back. Just don't. Well, there's a turkey feather. But there's a flock of, I counted 50 turkeys out here, so there's a lot of food. But anyhow, what I was saying was, back by the house, it was about 4 in the morning. This is all going to be on, so by the time this comes out, the episode of the Bigfoot Society will come out that I'm a guest on. So this is hopefully going to help explain some things better. So again, thank you, Jeremiah, for having me on. Hopefully, yeah, like I said, this will explain stuff better. But back by the house, there was like a hyena type laugh. And I know what you're all gonna say, that's coyotes. No, it is not. That is a fact. And I'm gonna have this link down below too, because I mentioned it on the podcast. There is a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service video, and they wouldn't do this if they thought the Sasquatch was bullshit. So anyone that's like a skeptic or anything, they're not putting out an official video talking about this stuff if it's all BS. I can tell you that from experience from working with the state of like West Virginia, PA, Mississippi, like they're not going to spend any, especially when it comes to science. You already have to beg, you know, and basically plead with people for money. They are not going to do this if they do not think that it's real or if there's some point to doing it. So in it, they have one of their trackers. I can't think of the guy's name, but it'll be linked down below. He has recordings that sound identical to what I heard. They basically professionally say, I don't know what this is. I mean, like I said, more professional than that, but that's interesting to me because what was weird about it was once it started, a feeling of dread came over me. And, see, it's starting to get a little bit quiet back here now. We're getting close to where everything happened. There's just a couple birds. So, I'm like looking through the trees. What happened was a feeling of dread came over me and I couldn't move. And I have not felt that terrified before in my life. That's why I didn't record it on audio. I couldn't physically move to go get my phone. I was standing by the window listening, and it was close. Whatever this was extraordinarily close. So that would have been, I'm gonna say fall of 2020, because I don't know, it was either September, October, I'm not sure on the month. Then, I'm trying to think the timeline here, because there's been so much stuff that's happened. So actually there was nothing until spring of last year, so 2024. That's when all this happened. So let me turn this around.
I says, I want an opinion. What animal is this? I says, is this some type of an owl? So we'll listen to those and let's see. Well,
okay.
We'll see what you think.
Right.
I have to tell you, I was doing a talk and I played that tape, and it was in Columbus, Indiana, and I had a guy stand straight up in his seat, and he says, "My God, that is the same thing that I heard by our cabin down in southern Indiana." He broke out into a sweat. He says, "I've got to leave right now." He said, he was, and I tell you what, for the rest of the talk, I had that entire audience right here in my hand, and he left. And he called me, he says, "I have to bring my wife." He said, "Because I can't believe," he says, "you have those sounds recorded." And then after I finished the talk, I thought to myself, I need to have him come on every one of these.
We don't have him here today. Now, where was that recording from? And
Washington.
Washington State.
Washington. And
Okay, so now we're gonna go from this view, because this is exactly, we're gonna walk, this is what I did. I came up the same way. Oh, I'm seeing some good birds back here. Sorry, I'm an ornithologist by trade, so. But what I did was, I came up because right up there about halfway, we're gonna go up there too. There's a water hole with a game cam up there that's, I mean, it ran out of batteries a couple years ago. But I came up early in the morning, got that SD card. There's a pond right back here we're gonna walk to. You know, I just hung out for a minute, and then it sounded like over in here someone was walking. I mean, it blatantly sounded like a person. So, this is so creepy to me to even be back here, but you can see how thick this is. And I'm watching the ground too for any types of tracks. You see how the birds are back behind us now, but do you notice how as soon as you get back in here, there's nothing? So there's the pond, it's right there. So I came down, you know, looked at the pond, because I normally go see if there's, you know, like reptiles and amphibians, because my other thing is herpetology. And then it was actually right in here, so we're not far from the wood line. And something was blatantly walking over in here. I mean, it sounded just like a person. And I remember it creeped me out because I'm like, sorry, I keep moving the camera since you can't see me. It's the, you know what I mean. Over there's my house. This isn't far. We're probably like 200 yards, I think. I'm trying to remember how many yards. It's hundreds of yards from the house. I'll have to look on Google Maps. I'll put that down on the bottom of the screen. Like I said, if I stop talking, it's because I think I hear something. Well, there's a deer. I'm assuming that's a deer. You hear it? And there is a game trail that goes up through there. So you could hear it though walking around in here. And remember I said, because it creeped me out because you couldn't see anybody. And finally I said, just so you know, I can hear you. You know, I said who I was, that I'm a biologist, you know, I live in that house and I'm just back here enjoying nature. I'm gonna put the SD card back, you know, and I didn't want any problems. And then I did what I'm I'm going to do now. I just came back out. I said, you know, I'm going to walk up there and continue on my way. And, basically, I won't mind them if they don't mind me. Like, I don't want any problems. But that other little pond is like right around that corner right down there. For people that were like, there's another little pond. It's not big, so we're not walking down there. It's maybe 20 by 20. And then as I was walking back up the hill, because like I said, that game cam's up here, you could hear it over in here pacing me. And you could see how thick this is. There's no way in hell you're gonna see what's back there. And I just heard a thud back there. I hope this picked that up. I need to get an actual mic. But, I mean, there's just spots, you know what I mean, that you can look back in. But you can't see anything. Which makes it even more disturbing when you have something pacing you. I'm hoping it's not too grown over to actually find where this water hole is. Because this is where the main action, so to speak, happened, was this water hole. So it's still pacing me. Sorry, I am paying attention right now. Because like I said, forgive my language right now, but this is really freaking me the fuck out. It's been over a year since I've been back here. And with all the other crap I've caught on audio and video, we are gonna stop and do this. That way I can look at the footage later. Highly doubt that I see anything. You know what I always say, especially when it comes to just biology in general, you'll never catch evidence if you don't look for it, if you don't collect anything. Now I think, see, this has been messed with by the guy that has the game cam. Like, he's been up in here. I think it's right across from this. Yep, this is it. This is right where everything happened. Because there's the water hole. So you could hear something, man, you know, doing the old, I'm just gonna do that many times and that's it. And it was rapid and it was super hard and deep. And then you started to hear, and it was somewhere over in here. This was actually more grown in by then because it was in June. Sorry, I'm out of breath because I'm a little freaked out right now. But then you started to hear like a, you know, like you hear in the Sierra sounds, not with the speech type things added to it, but the snorting aspect of it sounded to a T, along with the chest, what sounded like chest beating, and I couldn't see it. That's what bothered me. Like, if it would have been this time of year, I might have been able to see it. Because, I mean, you could see right down in there. But it was more grown up then. And there was standing water in this, too. But you can see there's all kinds of deer tracks and everything else down here, because everything knows this is where the water comes when it's available. So me being stupid, still thinking it's a person, was standing. We're gonna back up a little bit. I probably backed up to about here. So we're what, 15 feet away from that water hole? And then I bared my teeth. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Bared my teeth and then smacked my chest in return. And that was the worst mistake I ever made. Whatever it was like straight down, and it came, you could hear it just crashing through trees. And this was after it was already shaking those trees. And you can see how big those trees are. Those are what, 8-10 inches, some of them? I mean, it was shaking those trees. That's what was terrifying. It's just looking at how freaking big those trees are, and it's just shaking the shit out of them. Because those are hardwoods too. So they're not going to be very springy, you know, compared to some of the other types of wood that we can get out here. But there's a lot of like maple. We got maple oak. Like there's a black walnut. But I mean, it was just shaking the shit out of these trees. And then it sounded like it was coming crashing through, but it didn't come up far enough for me to see it. And I remember I just started backing up like I am now. I backed up probably to about here, and I just kept watching like I am now. And then I just spun around and I just started walking this way. And I kept looking. It's funny because I'm like, it's kind of like Patty. I kept looking over my shoulder. But I walked as quickly and as safely as I could. And I took this path back to the house. And you can see how high up we are, elevation-wise, and how much higher that goes. I think, like other people said, they use the ridges to go. Because the river's that way, and there's sightings of them at certain times of the year down along the river. And I noticed the spring and the fall is when they're really here. Is when I'll get the vocalizations and stuff that I've been recording with my song meter, which I'll show you where that's at too. But this was cut, or no, this was cut the same. I remember it had this little hook to it. But you see where that shed is? That's like right there. That's the apple tree we were sitting at when we heard the wood knocks over there. We had a bonfire. And then the house it's behind this. It's behind there. Right over here. Or sorry, zoomed in. Right over in there is where I have my song meter, so it's recording over that way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up sometime this week and we're going to leave it in the woods. I'm going to have it record like I did before from 8 at night to 6 in the morning. We'll do that for 2 weeks. And then I'll probably have it for a week. I'll do 24-hour recording and we'll see if we get anything. Now, obviously I'm not going to have that done before the video comes out because that's a lot to go through. But, sorry for all the cuts. I don't know why, unless somebody can explain to me how to do it. I can't figure out how to just switch the cameras on the iPhone while you're recording. So if you see cuts, that's what I'm doing. I switched from the front to the back. But yeah, it's been crazy. And now we're walking by. Over on my left over here is where the UAP I saw. It was a giant ball of light, bigger than our Jetta. Just came up. It came up from the ground, and it did this like a falling leaf in reverse. And then it went up probably about 400 yards, and I don't know if it flew off or what, it was gone. We're gonna have another video on that though, because there is a lot, and I mean a lot of UAP footage I have from out here. Like enough so that I've been talking to like Stan Gordon and Tom King and like all these other UAP people, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on out here. But then I got a neighbor that evidently I heard that one of their horses was attacked by a giant black cat. So I'm like, there's black cats, UAP, and Sasquatch, and Stan was saying there's some kind of weird connection between them. Normally if you have one, you have the others. I don't know. I mean, even scientifically, I'm like, I'm open to it until I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm gonna look at this objectively, and if the data says, like I'm not gonna have any bias. So if somebody can like even debunk, like properly too, debunk some of the stuff that I have, cool. I'm actually perfectly fine with that. That's how you learn. And then I know next time, just disregard that. Like, I'm not gonna get offended. The only time I get offended is like when that Bigfoot group from here in PA was trying to say I'm a hoaxer. What the hell am I gonna get out of hoaxing this? First off, I'll never be able to work again once this all goes public. Like, no one in the state's gonna hire me. They're not. So I'm already, so bye-bye wildlife biology in PA. Because they're gonna think that I'm a nut job. Then if they find out about the UAP and everything else, I'll never get a job probably in science. It's pseudoscience. So no, I'm not hoaxing this. I'm risking a lot. I mean, we're talking 10 years of a career and how many years of an education that I'm potentially just saying fuck it and I'm throwing it away because I want to know. This is something that I've experienced. It's something that I'm continuing to experience, and I need answers. See a gray catbird right above me. I'm like, please don't poop on me. But I want answers. So I didn't appreciate that, and I even posted pictures of like all my credentials and everything, and name dropped people I worked for and everything. So I don't know. I get it, being skeptical. Don't believe everybody, don't believe everything you see, especially now with AI and everything else. But don't just go, oh, well, Matt was also a filmmaker. You're right, I was, and I'm starting to get back into it, obviously. But why should my job so does that mean that like all these people in government and everything else, they're all lying about UAP, even though it's costing them their careers and pensions and everything else? No. No. Judge someone on the evidence and everything else that they have, not just on what their job is. Plus, if I was gonna fake this, I'm sorry, I'm not going to a Facebook group. I'm just not. Like, what am I gonna get out of that? The only people that ever see that be in the Facebook group. I mean, plus you're not gonna get anything out of this. The whole point of having a hoax is to be either famous or make money. When it comes to this crap, you're not gonna do either. It's a money pit. People do this because they love it. Like, you're not gonna make money off of this field. Which is really similar to wildlife biology too. By the time you get your school paid for and everything else, you're not gonna be making money, I promise you that. Not like you think. But that's enough rambling for now. I need to get footage of where the song meter is, show you guys that, and then where the over at the picnic like bench thing where we had the bonfires. So I'm gonna cut this off now, and then we'll rejoin each other there. All right, so on my front porch right now. So if you look over, that tree right there is where I have the song meter micro, and then it just records at night. So normally when I put my dogs out, they'll come out and do their business. We'll go over there, and then one normally stays over here. So Christmas Eve, but you're gonna see the video on the Bigfoot Society Podcast. I came out, and like over in here, you could hear, it sounded like there were 3 different birds. I didn't catch them all. Sorry, you're gonna hear my dogs barking. Alright, I don't know what the hell's going on tonight, but I'll tell you this. Please tell me that just caught on camera. There was something walking. You hear that? You hear the owl starting now? That's not a fucking owl. Now they're fucking with me. There's something back in... Alright. That was an eagle or a hawk. Time to go back in because there's at least 4 of them out here. Sorry. But you hear it. It sounds like there's one down here, one there, and then back by the garage I could hear something walking too. So it was like I was being surrounded. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, birds, you know, some of them will call at night, but this was like, there were 3 different birds, including a red-tailed hawk or blue jay. I can't remember what it was. I misidentified it at the time. I was so upset. But they were all 3 birds that would never let one another know where they're at because one would eat the others. Plus it was 10:30 at night and those birds don't call at night. And then the dogs were acting really weird. And what had happened was I went and got a flashlight, came back out, and I got to about over in here. And that was when all hell broke loose. But we're gonna walk over here now. And I'll show you where we were for the wood knocks. So right over here, you can see we've got like a nice little area set up for bonfires. I feel bad, I still got the Christmas wreath out here, but one of the dogs has passed. It was out here. We buried him here because he used to dig under here all the time. We were all sitting, we weren't at the, I don't think we were at the picnic table. I think that night they actually had chairs that were set up over here. And we were all over here. And the dogs were like, let me adjust this. The dogs were like over in here, right? And it was over in there. I'm just gonna point the camera as best as I can in these areas. That I heard a wood knock. Like I said, it was about midnight. And I said to my mom, you know, like, did you hear that? You know, and of course my mom thought I was pissing with her, and I'm like, no, really. And then the dogs moved. You know what? They were at the picnic table. Well, my mom was. And her boyfriend was sitting right here on in a chair. Because then the dogs went from behind my mom. They moved over here between like the fire, which was obviously right here. They moved between her, like they moved in front of her, but between the fire and like the darkness, they started looking over in that area, just staring, all 3 of them. And that's what started like making me go, okay, something's not right here. And then, you know, like in the distance, let's see if I can do it with this. But like, you know, in the distance, I heard another, well, it didn't sound like it, but you know what a wood knock sounds like. And that's when my mom heard it. And she said, what was that? And I said, that was a wood knock. And she's like, well, what would do that? You know, like Mr. Biologist, what would do that? And I said, well, nothing normal. I said, you have to have hands to do it, right? Because you have to grasp a piece of wood to smack a tree or something, you know, be it a ball bat, limb, whatever they're, you know, whatever you're using. And it creeped her out. Then we heard a second one that was further back. And that's when like the dogs like really started getting freaked out. So like back to our left, you know, you can see you got to go back to get to the house. You got to go that way. So instead of going around the front, I actually just took them straight because it's quicker to just cut by the, we call it the dog kennel, but it's quicker to cut between that and the actual barn and just get straight to the house that way. And I almost couldn't get them back to the house. Like they didn't even want to move from where they were because they were so terrified of whatever was over in that area. Then we're gonna walk back over by the house and I'll show you where the noise was coming from. Generally, like the hyena style noise was actually coming from the woods from the same area. So like everything else, it was like over that way. Because that window up there, that little window, that whole section up there is where I'm at. So it was on the other side of that. And some of the audio recordings you'll hear, they came from there, and then there is all the way down there. There's a pond. You can kind of see that blue building, like a blue roof. There's a farm over there, and they have a pond. So there are geese over there. But there's times where you'll catch geese up in those woods, or you'll hear things mooing or sounding like a goose all the way back there in those woods, and there's nothing back there. There's no reason a single goose would be there in the middle of the night making those noises. And I yelled for one of the dogs one night, and that's when I got a moo. Something mooed at me from back there. And there was another night across the road, because there are cows over there. But that night, it started off, it did that, like the moo, you know, like the moo, like a cow, but then it went moo at the end. And that was over in that direction. And that's another ridge line over there. So the river is that direction. And what I think they do is they hop these ridge lines and they'll go down eventually to the river. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff down there, like, you know, you're gonna have fish, the ducks, everything else to feed on. And I think during certain times of the year, they go down there, whereas other times of the year, like in the spring, I think they're more up on these ridges. This is down like the river valley. And I think in the fall/winter, they're up here for whatever reason. I don't know what food sources are here that they're using then, but it does seem like a lot of people said that they use ridge lines to travel. And that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because it's interesting too that over there's another ridge line where I hear stuff, and then I catch stuff over by that ridge line, and then my encounter with whatever happened back on that one. So it's never been down in a lower area, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's crazy out here. And since I recorded this stuff earlier, I found out you can't switch your camera anymore while you're recording on an iPhone. So that's why there's going to be cuts in this. It's such a stupid thing. You got to buy a program to be able to do that. But I'm going to look into getting a proper camera next, so we're not going to have to worry about this crap. Really though, I just wanted to kind of do like a walkthrough out here and show everybody the layout of the land and explain things a little bit more and actually take you to where this stuff happened and maybe help you understand like what's going on out here. There's so much. It's been calm for a while, but I expect it'll probably pick back up soon, because this is, like I said, this is about the time of year last year that I had a run-in with something back there. And then we had the wood knocks and everything else prior to that around this time of year. So I'd imagine they'll be back soon. Because there's berries back there, there's morels, there's all kinds of stuff that you can go back there and forage for. On top of, you saw the stumps and everything else, so you can dig for, you know, grubs, termites, whatever. Like, there's all kinds of high caloric stuff back there. Not to mention, there's a flock of like 50 turkeys out here. There's always deer out here, rabbit, grouse. I mean, you name it, we have it. Fox, coyote, fishers, like all kinds of stuff out here. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to do in this video, is just give an overview and actually take you to places stuff happened. And then we're going to start going through my all the evidence that I've collected, like all the audio, any videos, stuff like that, and later videos that I do. And then we'll be covering like the UAP side of everything too, because I'm literally standing right now. It was straight in front of me where I saw the UAP that stuff all started. And I don't understand what it is about this area. I've had nothing weird happen to me my entire life. Like, I just turned 40 last fall, and I've had nothing weird until I lived here, and now it's like a little theme park, if you will, of just bizarre things. But I want to thank you guys for watching. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. And like I said, when we start going through evidence, if you can, like, for sure, like, debunk stuff, I will be grateful for that, because like I said, I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'm not out to hoax. I'm looking at this like a wildlife biologist. I'm looking at it like a scientist. And you know, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. And that's okay. That's how science works. You're not going to learn any. The big thing is you're going to learn while you go. So you need to be able to adjust your thinking and, you know, your hypothesis and things like that as you go. So, you know, on the UAP side, on this side, you know, whatever. As we go through this together, hopefully we're all learning and I'm not wasting anybody's time. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.